Thanks everybody for coming. This talk is not cheesy at all, despite the title. I have a question. Are you good at teamwork? This question is something that comes up a lot. I've been to a lot of job interviews, and basically every job interview I've ever been at, some variation of this question has been asked. And there is one correct answer, and that answer is yes. But it seemed pretty not well specified. I've interviewed a lot of people as well. And so I thought I'd be clever about this and ask a different variation of that question. So what does good teamwork mean to you? And I was expecting wonderful answers, but unfortunately what I mostly got was fluff. People would answer with things like, be nice to each other, listen to each other, and good stuff like that, which is important, but they miss out on the details. It is not something that is very well considered a lot of the time, but it is critical. I mean, software development is a team sport. We know this. Like, our technical skills matter a lot in what we do, but that's really just a piece of the picture. A lot of the non-technical skills matter a lot more. They amplify what you can do, and they allow you to work with other people. So code is written by a lot of people and by robots, and it needs to be integrated, it needs to be reviewed, and that's a whole process. This is something that can be done well or badly. Integration can be hard if you're not communicating. It can be easy if you are communicating, and that's often the crux of a lot of complicated projects. And on top of that, software development is not a linear thing. It is a process of discovery a lot of the time. You sort of know where you're going, but you need to ask questions and figure out which questions to ask and figure out which problems to solve and figure out which solutions already exist that you can rely on. This takes a lot of communication. On top of that, that communication is often cross-functional. You need to communicate with people who aren't like you. You need to talk to design people and business brains and the marketing department and the clients, the user. So there's a lot of empathy needed a lot of the time. And it's not just people who work in different jobs, there's often cross-cultural communication as well. So organizations often want to have a diverse workforce, and that makes a lot of sense for a lot of different reasons. Sometimes it's a squishy thing, but it makes a lot of business sense to have a diverse workforce. I mean, it opens doors to allowing you to use more people, which is great, and it makes your teams more creative. So it's something that you want, but simply hiring diverse people is insufficient because it's complicated working with people who are very, very different from you. So it's important. And I found myself asking this question through my work. Can we engineer good teamwork from first principles? What are those first principles that we should base good teamwork practices on? So we can semi-engineer good teamwork, and there are certain principles, but it is complicated. So this is what we're going to talk about today. So hello everybody, my name is Sheena. I have been coding for a long time. I started coding more than 20 years ago. I then studied electrical engineering, but while I was studying, I was coding for food, and I continued coding. So I worked for a lot of different startups as a software engineer of different sorts, and I worked on a lot of teams that existed. I built teams from the ground up. I have trained teams. I have built processes that help teams to be effective. A lot of that, I've worked with a lot of very difficult people in startup land. There's a lot of opinionated, very smart people who want to go in different directions, and you need to figure out how to make this stuff work. And it's not easy. For the last 5+ years, I've been working in tech education. I love education. And I spent a lot of time working for a nonprofit in South Africa, where our job was to take people who had potential. We would find people with potential, and we turn them into people with careers. And this was really cool. I learned a ton. I learned a ton partially because I got to speak to a lot of hiring companies. So we wanted to make sure that we did a good job for the people who came through our system, and we did. Like, people got jobs, they kept jobs, they got promotions. So we weren't interview hacking, we were doing a lot more. So I'd go and I'd speak to these companies and figure out what they needed, and they'd list out all these technical skills. I'm like, okay. And then I'd ask them about the soft skills, and their eyes would light up. It's like, all right, this is also, it matters, but it's not really as discussed at the boot camp training level. So we taught a lot of soft skills and a lot of technical skills, and we taught it well. So the way I thought about what I did there was I looked at the science of education and the latest research and how brains work and how people learn well. And then from that, I could engineer different systems that would allow people to learn. So I'd make these experiences where people could learn different things. And that was really, really cool. It was fantastic because we didn't need to work according to traditional teaching mechanisms. We could figure things out, and we did a lot of experimentation. We had hundreds and hundreds of learners that we could work with, and so learned a ton about how to teach well. I do a lot of community things. So I am the PyCon Africa chair this year. I may not look like it, but I am in fact an African, and my family's been in Africa for multiple generations. So come and ask me about it if you're interested. It's in October. It's going to be really cool. And I founded a thing called the Guild of Educators. It's a free and open community for people who teach code. I'm busy spinning up a mentorship program there at the moment. So if you want to help teachers teach better by sharing your technical knowledge with them, then visit the website and sign up. It will be an experience. Lastly, I founded Prelude, which is my own company where I take everything that I've learned around education and tech and soft skills, and I make educational experiences. And that is me in a nutshell. So enough about me. Let's talk about ball sports. I don't really watch soccer, but it's great as an illustration of teamwork because, like, if you see a soccer player who's a bad team player, like, it's fairly clear. Like, if somebody is doing tricks with the ball instead of scoring a goal or hogging the ball, or just like not passing to their teammates or not supporting their teammates in some way, it's pretty clear. It's pretty clear to everyone. The crowd goes boo. But in information work, in software development and other kinds of information work, the teamwork dynamics are not as visible, they're not as clear. And so we don't say boo, we just say that was a funny thing that happened. And it's useful to have a metaphor that you can anchor on and say, like, cool, we are like a soccer team like this. Because then you have a common language and a common expectation about what good teamwork is. So I want to ask you some questions. Just raise your hand and shout the answer, or shout an answer. What is an attribute of a good team player on a soccer team? Come on, don't be shy. Oh, you guys. No? Yeah? Pardon? Cooperation, that's a big one. Cooperating with your team members, that's great. Anything else?
One that makes his team play better.
Okay, so the soccer player, a good team player looks after the whole team. They cooperate with their team players and yes. Yeah? Pardon? Communication, that's fantastic, yeah?
Anticipating what your teammates are going to do.
Yes, correct. Anticipating what your team is going to do. So there's a whole lot of different things, and it's great. There's also stuff around, so you've got to be aware of your role. You've got to be aware of the roles of the people around you. You have to be able, because that helps you anticipate what they're going to do and how you can use each other and rely on each other. You have a role that you need to perform well. You need to have the skills, you need to have the fitness, you need to look after that. You need to pay attention to the whole game. You need to pay attention to everybody else so that you can coordinate effectively. Coordination is a part of the game. And you need to pass the ball. So this is quite a big one, and this is why I like the soccer metaphor the most, is because, like, if you watch a soccer game, people's job, each player has a job around, like, taking the ball and moving it to a place, but most of what they really do is pass the ball. If you watch soccer players train, they're passing the ball. And there's so much skill involved in just, like, getting the ball to the right person in the right place. So let's zoom in on that. A good team player passes the ball. But they don't just pass the ball, they pass the ball with skill. They pass the ball in a way that's very, very intentional. They don't just put the ball over there and, like, someone will find it. So a skillfully passed ball sets the next person up for success. The skillfully passed ball allows the next person to pick up where you left off and keep running with it. You don't, you don't just leave it somewhere and hope for the best. So here's another question. What are some examples of ball passing in software development? Can we take this metaphor and bring it to our work? Does anybody want to give me a hand? Yeah? Oh, sorry? Yeah. No, he's talking. Yeah, that's great. Onboarding your teammates onto a new project. Who was over there? Somebody? Oh, yeah? Pull requests, that's a big one, yeah. Yeah, that's great. So if you leave a company, you leave things in a good state. You pass the ball on to whoever comes after you. You leave, and then you get a good reputation, which is great. Yeah?
Write incredible code.
Writing incredible code. Yeah?
Clear roles.
Clear roles, yeah, yeah. Well, that's not really ball passing. So it's like, where are things handed over from one person to another? Yeah? That's good, that's good. So you build a thing and then you onboard other people onto the thing that you built so that they know about it and know how to use it. There's one more here. Yes, documentation, that's a big one. So all of these things are things that can be done skillfully or not. And so it's really worth thinking about how to do them skillfully. All right, so I want to zoom in on pull requests because we write code and that's a big part of our process. So not everybody uses pull requests. Some people do trunk-based development and different things like that, but there's generally, in our work, there's something that we review, there's something that there are these kinds of review cycles. So I want to zoom in on pull requests. So the first ball that gets passed in pull request land is when you make a pull request, you can make it skillfully. You can have a nice title, you could have a good description, you can share the correct context, you could make sure that it's small enough that it covers just what you need and nothing else. If you make a mega epic pull request that changes a million things, and you're really setting your reviewer up for suffering, which isn't the best thing. So yeah, try to be skillful when you make a pull request. It's not just about writing the code, it's about writing the code in a way that you can hand it over to the next person well. When you give feedback, you can do that skillfully. And we all know that because we've all reviewed people's code and we've all had bad reviewers probably, and that's never fun. So this is something that has been explored quite a lot, like how do you review code well? But there's a third step in the process. It doesn't end there. You also need to apply the feedback skillfully. So if somebody does the kindness of passing you the ball and saying like, here is some feedback, and you're like, cool, I'm gonna leave it over there and go get this other ball. That's not ideal. When you apply the feedback, you learn, and when you apply the feedback, you get the code into production sooner. So like the entire system, the entire cycle can be executed in a skillful way. That last step is something that a lot of people aren't as quick about, in my experience. So in general, it's good to optimize feedback cycles. This isn't just a pull request thing. This is an overall system efficiency thing. So the faster you can apply feedback, the faster you learn, and the faster you can stop making the same mistakes. The faster your feedback cycles in general, like overall, the faster you get work into production, the faster you add value to the end client. And the fewer handovers there are, the less there is waste. So if you have a feedback cycle that's going around and around and around, then every single time there's a handover, that's waste. So you want to prevent that. So the other thing about soccer is that coordination is a part of the game, and it's a part of our game as well. So who here has played Broken Telephone, like as a kid? All right, there's a couple of hands. So for those of you who haven't, it's a children's game, and basically what you do is you sit in a circle, and somebody comes up with a message, and they whisper it in the ear of the person next to them, and then that person will whisper it in the next ear, then that person will whisper it in the next ear, and eventually the message comes all the way around to the original sender. And what you find is that the message has been horribly distorted, and now you're talking about something else. And Broken Telephone is a terrible game. It's a horrible, horrible game that is played in professional environments by adults very often. So like communication by default is, like things can get pretty chaotic, things can get siloed in different ways, and it's really everybody's job to try to prevent that. So yeah, coordination is a part of our game. It's not something that you can just say, it's the project manager's job to know what everybody's doing. They don't have the context. So there's a couple of different coordination mechanisms that we have. The one is meetings. Who loves meetings? Nobody, nobody. But if you pay attention to the craft of meetings and you show up prepared and you do them well, then you don't need as many of them and they're a lot more interesting. Written communication as well. I mean, you want to share the information that's necessary and like keep the noise to a minimum. if you keep the signal to noise ratio good, then everybody does better. Project management tools as well. It's like it is a part of our craft to keep other people informed about our work. Like it feels like a chore to keep these things up to date, and it feels like maybe it's a project manager's job. But like honestly, it's better if everybody takes care in exposing what they're working on and where their struggles are. Cool. So at this point, you might be thinking like, we can solve all of this with good processes. We can just like nail down some checklists and some flowcharts, and you can just do it like this and everything will work forever. And yes and no. Like principles are great, checklists are great. Checklists save lives. They're good enough for surgeons, they're good enough for pilots, they're good enough for us, definitely. But a principles first approach is very, very helpful. So the first thing you want to do is avoid box checking behavior. If you've got an if you focus on processes too much, then sometimes you get box checking behavior. Sometimes you get that's just how we do it behavior. You don't want people to become cargo culters for the processes that you follow at work. You need to know that there's always a reason behind things. If you are aware of the reasons behind things, then you are able to perform the processes in a way that's true to the principles, so you don't just check the box without thinking, and you're able to handle edge cases a lot more easily, because edge cases will come up. So, enough about soccer. I'm not a fan. What I am a fan of is hiking. So I hike a lot. I go to this place called the Drakensberg fairly often. It's a mountain range in the middle of South Africa. It's a magical place and very spiky sometimes. So I always go with friends, because even though it kind of feels like a solo sport, you have to have people around you for safety reasons. So I'm going to share a couple of stories and just think about how they apply in software development land. So the first story is about a friend that was struggling. So me and two friends were hiking, and we were going up quite a steep mountain pass, and we were each on our own mission. There was one guy in the front, and then one friend behind me, and I was in the middle. And you always make sure that everybody's within line of sight, so we're always checking what the next person's doing. And I noticed that the person behind me was falling further and further behind. And this woman is like tough as nails. She is fantastic. She's experienced, she packs really well, she trains for these things, and just mentally very, very tough. And so I was concerned that she was falling behind. I'm like, this is unusual, this is not expected. I look back again and I see that her backpack is off, she's sitting down. I'm like, okay, something is up. So I dump my bag and I go down to find her. And when I get to her, she's pale, she's like shaking, she's sweating more than she should be sweating, and she says she's just been throwing up in those bushes over there. It's like, oh, that's terrible. We need to deal with the situation. We can't stay here. It's not a good place to stay. And the water's up there. And we will need some of that at some point in the near future. So we have a choice about, like, either we can keep going or we can turn around. So she wants to keep going. It's not altitude sickness, we're not high enough for that, it's probably something else. So I was like, cool, we'll go to the top, and if she's still feeling terrible, we'll turn around and we'll go back tomorrow. But we'll have a night's rest on top. And so we need to get her up there, but she's really, really struggling. So I'm like, cool, give me your bag, I'll take it. And I could see the inner turmoil on her face, like she was frowning, she was fighting herself, because she is the tough one. She does not need help. But what did she do? Like, she gave me her bag and she said thank you, and we made it to the top. So me and my other friend, we just like tag teamed to get the bag up to the top. We all got there, and it was fine in the end, because she said yes and because she said thank you. I have another experience which is similar. These pictures aren't related to the stories, they're just cool pictures. Yay. Enjoy. So a similar situation happened another time, where a bunch of us were walking up a hill, also a fairly steep pass, and somebody else was falling behind. And this person was falling behind because they hadn't prepared properly, their bag was over heavy, they were new at mountain things, they hadn't trained enough, and she was falling behind. It doesn't really matter why a person is falling behind. In the end, you need to get everybody to the destination, or you need to turn around. So we see that she's struggling. So I go down, I'm like, hey, can I help you? Give me your bag, I'll carry it for a while. She's like, no. It's like, okay, give me some of your stuff. Like, what do you have in there? Just give me some things. I'll carry your food for you, something. No, I must carry my own weight. And so what ended up happening was we took a lot longer to get to the top. We had an idea about where we wanted to be. It was like, we want to find this really cool cave. We know it's there. It's going to be hard to find at night. We couldn't find it because we got there at night. Because this one person was too attached to their ego to accept help. So you can accept help well, or you can accept help badly. And accepting help is a part of the game, if you are concerned about the destination and getting everybody there. The third story, also unrelated to this picture, is about status updates. So when you're hiking, it's a very solitary sport, but you're always checking on each other. You're always making sure people are fine, because little things can turn into big problems. So we're walking along, and we sync up from time to time, and I synced up with one of my friends, and she's like, there's a little tear in my backpack, and it seems to be getting bigger, but I think we're going to make it to camp, so it's okay. Like, I'm just letting you know. I was like, okay, sweet. Later on, so I check it out, and it looks like she's probably right. Some time passes, we sync up again, and we check it out. It's like, it's actually growing a bit faster than we thought. And she's like, no, I think it's okay. I think I'll make it to camp. So I'm like, I don't think you will. And our other team was like, I don't think you will either. Let's just stop right now and sort this out. So we sewed up the backpack, and it was fine. Like, not a dramatic story at all. But if the backpack broke, it would have been a dramatic story, because carrying an extra 20 kilos worth of stuff with a backpack that's completely wrecked is not a fun game. And you don't leave that stuff behind in the mountains either. So it's great that it wasn't a dramatic story. Like, she filled us in on the details, even though she didn't think it was going to be a problem. She was like, this weird thing. And that saved us a lot of trouble. So those are the three stories, and it's all about help and status. So you can ask for help in a way that's skillful. That's also an instance of passing the ball. You can set your helper up for success by letting them know soon, by letting them know quickly that you might need help and that you do need help, and giving them the right context, not just saying, like, I have a problem. You can receive help skillfully. You can say thank you. You can check your ego. And you can share your status skillfully. You can say, this weird thing happened, I don't think it's a problem. And that's still very, very helpful information, because there might be somebody who's seen that before and knows that it's a problem. So this is all very, very good behavior. So now one might think that now that you know about these metaphors and you know about these good behaviors, everyone's just going to be a better team player, and that's great. But the thing is that good teamwork is a collection of little habits, and habits are hard to change, they're hard to build. So there are habits of awareness, paying attention to the right things, and then habits of action, just like triggering the correct action based on what you see and hear. And it's really hard to build habits. I mean, if you've ever tried to stop smoking or quit chocolate or start a gym habit, you know it's difficult. On top of that, we are biased. We don't mean to be, but we are. And sometimes the more you know about the different rational biases, the more prone you are to others, because you think you are immune when you're not. We have our egos. As much as we try to check our egos, they're still there. We have our limiting beliefs. We think we don't belong in different situations. And we've got baggage. We have baggage from childhood nonsense and from our last job that wasn't great. So all of this comes into play. But to grow is human. And so we got to think about how we can take a team of people and move in the right direction, instead of just expecting everybody to be perfect up front. So don't try to fix everything at once. Embrace Kaizen. Who's heard of Kaizen? Yeah, a couple of hands. So Kaizen is a Japanese business philosophy that's about making tiny changes, making continual tiny improvements. And if you make some tiny improvements, they can be really small. They can feel trivial and pointless, but they stack up. So let's say, for example, you decide, like, stand-up suck. I'm going to just spend like 5 minutes before stand-up preparing so that I know what I'm going to say. So I'm going to stay on topic, and I'm going to share the right context, and I'm not going to ramble, because I'm going to have like my plan. If you do that, then suddenly stand-ups are better for everybody. That means that you can get your message across better. That means that if you are trying to ask for help, or if you are sharing your status, it'll be heard. It also means that you can mentally prepare. It's like, I'm going to ask for help. I'm going to need to ask for help on this. You write it down. You're like, okay, this is my agenda. It makes it easier for you to actually do what you need to do. So like this tiny little 5-minute habit can really have a big impact. And if everybody does that, then it has a really big impact. And then suddenly stand-ups are great for everyone. And a well-executed stand-up is gold. You can highlight good work skillfully. So it's very possible to look at all of this stuff and start spotting problems and say like, hey, do better. That was not a good passing of the ball, and this is a problem, and this is a problem. It's very, very easy to just like zoom in on what's going badly. But it's often not a good way to move things forward in a positive direction, because it kind of beats people up if you're nitpicking them on things that they aren't like fully into yet, especially if they're still in the process of building those good habits. So highlight the good work, and that is helpful. So like this thing that you did at stand-up, it was really, really great. It was great for these reasons. It gave me confidence in this team. It gave me confidence in you. Fantastic. Thank you. Please do more of that. Everybody be more like this person. That is helpful. And remember where you came from. So if you are working on a team and things are a little bit rough and things are a little bit hard, and you are working on getting better, it's very easy to look at what you'd like to be and kind of beat yourself up a little bit for not being that yet. But it's much more productive often to look at where you've been and the changes that you've made and how they've gone. So learn from your past self and compare yourself to your past self. The next thing I want to touch on is diversity, because it is a big deal. I'm not going to go into into fine detail here, because this could be a whole talk on its own, but it's very, very important. A lot of people here work on teams with people who are very unlike them. Cultural diversity is a thing. So I am currently working with a team. I'm busy training a pretty big team on teamwork dynamics stuff, and I asked the team members to give me a little write-up of where they're from, their cultural backgrounds, and I turned it into this insane word cloud. It's bananas. And it helps me to understand like some of their challenges at the moment, because people from different countries tend to focus on different things. They tend to prioritize different things, and they tend to communicate in different ways. And those cultural differences can lead to all sorts of different kinds of interpersonal friction instances. So it's very hard to understand every single culture in a deep and meaningful way. There's a lot here. But what you can do is look at averages. You can see what the normal behavior is in different places, and you can compare different norms. So for example, let's take Russia and Britain, two of the people here. So in Britain, people are typically very, very polite. If there's something negative to be said, people are they typically understate it. So a very famous understatement came from a pilot who said, there's a slight problem in that all of our engines have failed. Like these are words that somebody said in real life, a real human. So that's Britain. Russians tend to be a bit more direct. If they don't think you did a good job, they'll tell you that you didn't do a good job. On average, they'll also tell you what they think of your mother. On average. So it's just good to know about those norms. Now, there are two things that are really, really worth digging into. So if you are working in a diverse environment, spend some time researching stereotype threat. It's a really, really big deal. Again, I can't go into detail now, but I am linking to a bunch of things in the slide deck. I'll share the links with you at the end. But basically, this is something that's been studied a lot in an academic setting. And there are like very small interactions that you can take, small actions that you can do that will improve certain people's academic results by as much as 30%, just by tackling this one little thing, and it's about personal identity. The other thing that you should do is learn more about normal behaviors. So that example I gave you about Russians, it's not my example, it comes from the Culture Map book, which is brilliant. It's really, really brilliant. So if you're working on a culturally diverse team, like read that, it's going to change things for you. All right. So good teamwork is good business. We can agree on that. Like, a good team is worth more than the sum of its parts. If you get some people who are really able to gel and do great things together, it's like you get a lot done. It's not about a collection of individuals. So I'm not the only person who thinks that. There are a lot of people who think that. A lot of people have studied teamwork and what it does. And one organization that did quite a lot of work on this was Google. So Google, they're big. Have you heard of them? Yes. They ran this thing called Project Aristotle. Aristotle was the person who referred to things that were more than the sum of their parts. That's where the name of this project came from. So what they wanted to do was look at their own teams and see what makes an effective team, what are the characteristics of effective teams. Now, Google's really big, and they have a lot of teams working on a lot of different things. Some of the teams are culturally diverse, some of the teams are cross-functional, some of the teams are small and specific. But they wanted to find the common threads about what effective teams do. So they looked at 180 teams. Each of these teams probably had different definitions of the word effective. They asked a lot of survey questions, 250 survey questions at least. They did a lot of double-blind interviews. They looked at a whole lot of different statistical models, and they searched for things that impacted multiple outcome metrics, both quantitative and qualitative. That's a mouthful. If you know much about how Google works, they do a lot of things around OKRs, objectives and key results. So there's a very measured organization, and they do have very strong definitions of what effective means in different places. So they looked at that. They looked at different types of teams again, so different work functions, different configurations, and they looked at things that were consistent across multiple teams. So this is really cool. They came up with 5 main things that matter. I'm not going to talk about all 5 of them right now. I'm going to talk about the first one, the most important thing for effective teams. Can anybody guess what it might be? Yeah? Pardon? Feedback. It's close. It's close. Communication engineering. Okay. Respect. That's good. That's good. I saw one more hand. Okay, it's close. The winner is psychological safety. All right, so that feeds communication, that feeds feedback, it makes these things effective, and you can think about why. You can think, like, if people feel psychologically safe, they're more able to share ideas and give each other feedback. So according to Google, their definition of psychological safety is that a psychologically safe team is a team in which people believe that if I make a mistake on our team, it will not be held against me, and you can measure that. So this means that people can share ideas, even dumb ones, because maybe the dumb idea will catalyze another good idea, like more ideas are better. It'll allow people to push back on each other's ideas. It'll allow people to ask for help when they need it and share statuses. It allows people to say no when the expectations are unreasonable. And that helps with expectation management, which makes everybody more dependable. It helps with yeah, there was one more, but I've forgotten. Yeah, but you can see how across the board it is very, very helpful. It helps people to say, like, hey, I'm overloaded right now. I can't do this. I would love to do this, but I can't do this. And then other people can chip in and help. So it's very, very helpful. And you can see how this can be the foundation to many good things. And it's a very easy thing to damage. Like, trust is hard to build. Trust is easy to damage. So just in summary, like, I've covered quite a lot of different things, and it's really, I don't know, making this talk was hard because teamwork is such a big topic, and there's a lot that I did not include in this talk, but I think that there's a good foundation here. So the things that we practiced, the things that we spoke about was a principles-first approach. So lean on metaphors, because metaphors help. Focus on feedback cycles, make them, optimize them as much as you can. You can lead on processes there as well, but again, principles first. Explicitly cater for diversity if you have a diverse team. Like, don't just hire diverse people and say, be your best selves. It's not sufficient. Like, people aren't necessarily going to figure everything out by themselves. Tell everybody to read the culture map. It's really good. And lastly, treasure psychological safety. It's really the foundation for many, many great things. Awesome. So that is the end. If you scan that, then you'll get my slides, and the first 2 slides are a bunch of links to different things. There is a write-up there about stereotype threat, some links to books, some links to articles, some links to the work that I do. So yes, that is that. Thank you.
Thank you, Sheena, for the very insightful presentation.
Thank you.
We'll now invite questions from everyone. There's a microphone behind. You can make use of it and then ask questions.
Hello. Thank you for your talk. I come from a company where we have a lot of people coming from the academic field, and I feel like we have a very, very, very bad feedback culture, and that even like it infused our software team. How would you go about to like bring that good feedback culture back?
Okay, that is tricky. It is very, very tricky. Could you tell me more about the bad feedback culture? Like, what is going on there?
I mean, I don't know how it is in the other countries, but I would say that in France, the academic field is really like psychological warfare,
Okay.
kinda.
So people are competitive and they grind each other down.
Yeah, and like
Okay.
yeah, there's no kindness whatsoever, no empathy. It's really bad. And yeah, it infused, as I said, the team kinda.
Yeah, okay, cool. I think one of the things that you can do is tell them about Google's research, so Project Aristotle, look that up, and like you can run so something that I'm doing with this other team, because there are some psychological safety issues there. It's not so bad though, it sounds like you're in a harder place. But sitting with everybody and saying like, cool, how does psychological safety make this process better? How does it make this process better? How does it detract from this? How does it detract from that? So to see like, what is the actual value of psychological safety, and get people to have some amount of agreement on that, some amount of discussion on that. That's one big thing. And then once you've got that, then you can say, how can we improve psychological safety and how can we destroy it? And get people to see how their behaviors are like affecting things. So that's one thing, just like a group thing that you can do. It's possible that some individuals are worse than others, and look at them as if they're struggling. Don't be like, this is a naughty person, let us sort them out. Like, there might be some deeper reasons there that you're not aware of. Sometimes people communicate in a blunt way when they don't realize that it's a problem. Like, there are some cultures that are more direct and some that are more indirect, and that's just normal. So chatting to people individually is very helpful as well, but it's very easy to, like, if you're talking about somebody about a behavior that you want them to change, it's very easy to do it in a way that puts them on their back foot and makes them defensive and gets their ego involved and things like that. So it's good to have some just communication tools that you can use. So there's a really good book called Nonviolent Communication. Highly, highly recommend. It's very useful. Even if you don't like always use it, it's great because it allows you to have conversations in a bit more of a formulaic way. It lets you package things in a way that's that's hard to argue against, partially. So it's just like, hey, on Tuesday, this thing happened. And on Wednesday, this thing happened. And on Thursday, this thing happened. Facts. Like, we can look at the facts together. These are how the facts made me feel. These are my feelings. These are my emotions. They can't argue against your emotions either. And like, just expressing why you feel the way you feel is very, very helpful. And expressing like what needs are not being met, or what the effect of that behavior is also very useful. You can say, cool, so the effect of this is it's very hard for people to share their work with you for review, and it would be really, really cool if we could get you involved sooner, before, earlier on in the process, but everybody's so resistant to it, and so mistakes just last for longer, and we don't fix things quickly enough. We'd love to be able to come to you sooner. And then like have an ask, say like, hey, I think I've got a strategy for how we can overcome this. Here's my strategy. What do you think? And try to get them involved as well. Try to get them to state like objectively what happened, instead of saying like, oh, you always do this. That's a judgment. It's not a fact. Yeah, so there's a whole book on this. It's really, really great. Read that book. It is helpful. Then, yeah, what else? I think there comes a time when you do need to get more senior people involved who can hold people accountable. That's a big deal. Yeah, what else? I think the other thing that's very, very helpful here is just human connection. So, when like it's much easier to be rude to text than rude to a person you know. And so, like, team building is a hard thing to get right, but there are ways to build human connection. And often if you find somebody who's kind of grumpy and abrasive and kind of a bit mean, and then you show them who you are as a person and get them to respect your skills a little bit, then they start to treat you differently. So show them that their opinion matters. Like the training that I'm running at the moment, there is one individual who's like quite, like I was like, oh, this guy's going to be a problem. Like he's very challenging in the group settings. He'll always like try to ask the hardest questions possible, and like I can see that he's trying to push buttons. He doesn't want to be there, and so what I do is I just include him in more conversations. I'm like, hey, I can see that you think deeply about this. What do you think of this? Oh, that's really helpful. I'll work it into my next session. And I'm like showing him that his contributions are actually helping, and that I'm listening to him, and his behavior has been changing. So yeah, lots of little things there.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Hi, thank you for the talk, Sheena, and the ideas that you shared. I agree with a lot of what you said, and it seems very sensible, and even to the point that it seems like it might be even common sense, right?
It would be nice.
Some of those things that you shared. However, nonetheless, we see a lot in our everyday lives that we don't live up to those principles and those ideas that you shared. So, if this is really that common sense and that clear to do, why is it that we don't live up to these principles, and how can we overcome those barriers, perhaps?
That's a good question. Yeah, it's interesting. So like while I'm running this training with this other team, we've been doing all these brainstorming exercises, and I'm like, oh, what does good teamwork mean to you in this situation? And they've got all the right answers, and like, you know how to do this. Why aren't you doing it? And a lot of it again comes down to habits. It comes down to being aligned on what is valued. That's a big deal. So if you've got a team of people and none of them is really super sure on what effective means in their team, then people are going to do weird things. And I think making, like if you're building any kind of system for people, you need to take into account that humans make human errors. Humans are going to have the best of intentions, and then they're going to stumble and fall, and you shouldn't really hold that against them. It's just like, oh, you were a human and not a robot. Oh, damn, screw you, buddy. So building systems where people can be made aware of like what the challenges are is a big deal, and building that psychological safety is a big deal. I think like, honestly, like it's just human nature to be less than what you want to be. Everybody's got aspirations to be more than what they are. So Kaizen helps a lot. Yeah.
Yeah, thanks for sharing.
You're welcome.
Hi, thank you for the talk. I have a question about communication, or rather miscommunication, because it happens a lot that we have some discussions, we discuss technical details and how we should solve some problems, and we have arguments that, hey, we should do this or that way on another, and sometimes we are falling into a trap that we discuss for hours how we should solve the problem, and sometimes I found that we are talking about the same solution and we all agree on the same solution, but we are using different language because we have different backgrounds, etc. And sometimes when we after that sit in over the code, it's okay, let's do this, and it worked for all of us. Sometimes it's still the issue that we have different backgrounds and we cannot agree on a single solution. But I'm wondering, do you have some good practices on how to spot the miscommunication, how to find it quickly and just stop talking when we all agree?
All right, yeah, that is tricky. That is very hard. I don't think that there's one silver bullet solution that solves all of the problems, because like there's a lot of different things that we need to communicate. There are some like communication hacks almost. So this is also something that he just showed me the stop sign. I think I need to move over and let somebody else take the stage, but we can keep chatting. I'm very happy to keep talking to anybody about this, and also you can send me stuff on Discord if you don't see me in person. Yeah, thank you so much.
Okay,
Thank you, Sheena.